We are looking at the northeast section of the Lawndale area. In this episode, we cover 4 synagogues that were located to the north of Douglas Boulevard. In fact, one was located to the north of Douglas Park itself. Our first is on the 1100 South block of Francisco. We then jump several blocks west and 2 blocks south to the 1300 South block of Spalding. Our third is 1 block directly west to the 1300 South block of Christiana, and our fourth and final heads 1 block north back to the 1200 South block. So let us begin. This building once housed Congregation B'nai Israel. When the neighborhood changed, the congregation resettled on Lawrence Avenue in Albany Park, and when that neighborhood lost its Jewish presence, the synagogue disbanded. The spiritual leader for many years was Rabbi Israel Carno. Another person who details the histories of these closed synagogues asserts that this synagogue was associated with the Krinker Society. If so, then this hits close to home. The Krinker Society was established by and for Jews who emigrated from the Grodno province along the Polish-Russian border, specifically the city of Krinki, as the Polish people called it, and Krynik, as the Jews called it. The Krynik River ran alongside it. This was an area that went back and forth between being part of Poland and part of Russia, depending on who won which war. My mother's mother hailed from Krynik and insisted that she was a Russian Jew and spoke Russian as a child along with Yiddish. Remnants of what were once the stone-carved Ten Commandment tablets can be seen just below the arch near the top of the building. Our next stop takes us more than a half a mile away, so we will magically jump there. We are now on the 1300 South block of Spalding, facing the west side of the street. This residence was both the living quarters and shtibel for Congregation Tiferes Moshe. The spiritual leader was the highly revered Rabbi Moshe Gershon Goldzweig. He also happened to be my uncle, married to my father's sister Molly. When the neighborhood changed away from a Jewish presence, he opened another shtibel in Albany Park at the corner of Ainsley and Avers. Upon his passing in the mid-1960s, his son took over the spiritual leadership of the synagogue. In the early 1970s, it was moved to West Rogers Park. However, it was put on hiatus a couple years ago to be determined its future status. To get to our third synagogue, we move 1 block west to Christiana. As we are almost at the corner of 13th, we will hook a quick right, then go left down 13th Street to the next side street, Christiana. At Christiana, we hook a quick left, and 2 doors down on the left or the east side of the street is our destination. It is the building to the left of the tree that is boarded up. More than 50 years ago, it was Congregation B'nai Moshe Leib Anshe Antopol. It apparently was another shtibel inside a residence. A 1948 document has a Sam Shapiro listed as the leader of this congregation. And now we turn our attention to the 4th synagogue on this episode's list. To do so, we turn to the left and go north a block to the 1200 South block. So here we are facing Congregation Bet HaKnesset. One doesn't see any visible markings of its Jewish past, but one can very well tell that this was a building that was here even 70 years ago. Unfortunately, I do not have any other information on this congregation. Stay tuned for episode 6 as we highlight several synagogues that were in the northwest section of Lawndale, north of Douglas Boulevard.